I was down at the beach a couple of months ago, and we went out for a walk, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to leave my phone. Most people want their phone with them, and I like to record my steps, to keep up with how many steps that I have today. But I said, you know what? I want to enjoy this. I don't want a phone call. I don't want to be talking on the phone the whole time I'm out here. And it really was super nice to be able to just walk down the beach for an hour and not have to worry about taking a phone call.
Went all in, play my cards right. Up the ante, won blackjack all night. Roll the dice, let it ride. Water beyond, I got snake eyes.
This podcast exists because of the team at CADCM. At CADCM, we make content creation enjoyable. We are on a mission to help leaders create content that will improve lives, content to be proud of, content that fosters community. We know through firsthand experience how content brings people together, and we love helping make that happen. We produce podcasts, short form videos, blog posts, and other written works, while also providing support in website development, social media management, and strategic planning. And we would be excited to help you. Visit cadcm.com to learn more, or feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. I rolled into the office today, and it was pretty early. I want to say maybe 8, a little bit after. And I noticed there's no one in the parking lot. Now, don't get me wrong. I was out of town last week. So I'm not like sitting here being like, everyone needs to be at work. So after the craziness of the last few weeks of school and graduation parties and all that kind of stuff, we got out of Dodge and went to the beach, and it was great. We were there for 4 nights. So people are definitely going out of town. And I know that's probably a main reason. I think a lot of the schools in the Charlotte area just got out, but it was interesting. And I still look out now. And as we record this, it's about 1:20 in the afternoon. There's very few cars in office parking lots right now.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's a good thing that people need to get out and go do their thing. And you see them on the roads. Like I've seen I-95 was nuts in one area. People trying to get from 26 to 95 is a huge gridlock over there.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of those things to where, and everywhere, right? Across the country, I think the weather, for the most part, right? For the most part, the weather's good. And I know they're having some issues in the Northeast with the fires from Quebec and all that kind of stuff, which is crazy. But it's very easy to be outside this time of year. I mean, then it gets hot and then the AC's coveted. I get it. But it's very easy to go to the lake, to go to the beach, to go for a walk, to just get away from things and not work. But it's also tough because it's summer. We're not teachers. We're not students. We are in business. To where you have to keep going, but the lake, the boat, the theme park, the whatever, the trip, the vacation is calling you. And we've talked before, and you said you could handle maybe a few days away, but then you start getting antsy. As we talk about it, our inside joke is you become unglued, which I think is hilarious.
Yep.
But at the same time, you do also understand the need for a break, the need to go fishing and go to the beach with your parents and all that kind of stuff. But I guess I'm thinking through it, it slows things down. So you can take that for any direction you want to go with it. But it just got me thinking this morning when I saw, I was like, oh, wow, the whole city's on vacation right now. It almost feels like.
Yeah. So, it's weird how you can work from anywhere. And so then it's like, when do I know when to stop? So I do a lot of that, though. I mean, I end up saying, hey, I'm going to take this time and do something fun. But at the same time, if I need to jump on my computer and I've been helping my parents with some yard work, for example, and then I'll just, if I have a conference call, I just stop and get in my car and can do a conference call. My dad just thinks it's unbelievable. He said, he said, you're out here working. He said that all of a sudden you're on a call, you're working, you're getting things done.
Yeah.
I've been to the beach with them. And then he said, you just all the way back or on the phone all the way back. And he said, all this stuff that's in your head. You're not looking at anything. You're not referencing anything. But yeah, you do need that time to say, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
I'm not intentionally not going to work, because it does wear you out sometimes too,
It does. When you're in that situation, there's times where if I'm going to work, I want to work. So I want to do what I got to do, not multitask, I would say, but bounce around a little bit. Hey, I'm going to work on this for a bit. I'm going to move to that.
Yep.
But when you're in the car on vacation with family, where you don't want to pick up in pieces, because I think it becomes stressful at times.
Yep.
So I think it is important to just shut it down for a while. And if you do pick it up, but pick it up and really focus on that and not I'm focused on this while I'm focused on that. I got to get the stuff together so we can go down the beach later this afternoon. And all of a sudden going to the beach becomes part of your tasks in your day, which you don't want that, right? When you go to the beach, You want to go to the beach or go fishing or whatever you do. Do you feel that? Or are you able to bounce around to say, like your dad was saying, like you could be doing yard work, you could stop, take a call, get right back into your yard work, take a different call, send an email, run a quote, what have you? Or do you need to stop, go do, like, how do you think through that?
Well, things have really changed. Of course, that's part of our society. And I think COVID accelerated that too, is just how you work. I mean, back when I first started, I was on the road. I mean, I wanted to be on the road at 8:30 in the morning and I didn't come home till 5. And I wouldn't think about doing anything personal during the day. I mean, I'm working, and it was just one continuous 8 or 9 hour work schedule. But now I take guitar lessons on Wednesdays. I actually have lunch with one of my agents almost every Wednesday. And right in the middle of my day, I take a 30-minute guitar lesson, and then you're right back and you can pick it right back up. And so, I mean, I like that. I'm good at that. But I do think you do need to shut it down sometimes
Yeah.
because it does end up, like you said, it ends up being a task that, oh my gosh, I got to get on the beach and I got to do that by 11.
Right.
And so I was down at the beach a couple of months ago and we went out for a walk and I said, you know what, I'm just going to leave my phone. Most people want their phone with them. And I like to record my steps, to keep up with how many steps that I have today. But I said, you know what? I want to enjoy this. I don't want a phone call. I don't want to be talking on the phone the whole time I'm out here. And it really was super nice to be able to just walk down the beach for an hour and not have to worry about taking a phone call.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's funny. I wear my Apple Watch pretty much all the time. And some days I was like, I want to take it off. I feel like it's strapped onto me, but I like it, right? From like counting steps, if I exercise or whatever I might do. And I don't use it for communication, except for like if someone's like kids texting me or whatnot. But when we were away, my son and I went on a bike ride and I had it worn in a couple days and we were wondering how far we went, but I had my Apple Watch on me. We were just curious, like how many miles? It was like 12 miles, but we didn't look at, I didn't have my watch with me, to your point. Like it felt good not having it. It didn't matter. Like it wouldn't have mattered had I had it. It didn't matter how far we went. We were just more curious because I was like, my legs were tired, man.
Yep.
So to your point, like it did feel good to just, it didn't matter, right? Like you just did it. You had a good time, a great conversation, amazing scenery and all that kind of stuff. And I just read the book. It's a new book. It came out actually in May, which I don't typically pick up books that fast. The Art of Clear Thinking. And it's from a fighter pilot's perspective on decision making. And one of the stories he was telling was about President Eisenhower during D-Day. And they're trying to make the decision, do we go? Is this the day we're doing it? Because they're worried about the weather. And they had finally made the decision to go. And this is the day we're going to do it. And there's a story of him playing checkers after he had made the decision. And, I guess some people were very upset. Like, how could you be playing checkers during a time like that? But it was almost like the decision had been made. Everything was going forward. There's nothing left for him to do. The decision he had to make had already been made. And obviously, I'm not comparing what you do to Eisenhower, but, it's just a sign and it's a thing of sometimes even the president has to take a break. I know people always get mad. How could the president be on vacation right now? Like, well, no one can work every single day, right? Like, it's just,
That's right.
You're going to burn yourself out. So that would be impossible.
Well, and it actually makes you less effective.
Yeah.
I remember reading a book by Lee Iacocca, who came in and saved.
Sure. Yeah.
So, Lee Iacocca, he came in when he took over and he said he was meeting with some of his head managers and all. And he said, one manager said, Mr. Iacocca, I haven't taken a vacation in 2 years, trying to talk like how hard he worked. And he said, Lee Iacocca said, if you can't arrange your schedule and manage your business to where you can't get a break every year, something's wrong. And it was a different perspective on the need for being able to step away. And it makes you more effective when your mind's fresher. And I know for me, if I'm tired, then things seem bigger than what they are. And it's not, you heard the old thing, sleep on it. But it really does. Sometimes when you wake up the next morning, your perspective is different on whatever it is, which is interesting.
Oh, it's very interesting, which I guess brings us back to present day when it comes to this time of year, right? Like everyone heads for the beach or heads for their vacation. And when you're in a business, and for the most part, most businesses rely on other people and other businesses, but they might not be around this time of year. And we talk a lot about it in the insurance industry where you call a carrier and you're trying to get something done and half their office is out, right? And we're not sitting here, maybe we are, questioning like who runs their schedule and how is nobody available right now.
Right.
But that could be stressful too, to say, am I the only one working? And to like what that individual was saying, that people wear it on their sleeve, that I work hard and I work all the time and I got here at 7 and I left at 8 as a badge of honor. And it's not always that way, right? Just because you work longer doesn't mean you work smarter, right? You could have been working on the wrong thing for those 13 hours.
That's it.
But how do you handle knowing that? Because we see it in the ebbs and flows. We talk about, it's Thanksgiving, right? It's another time of year when it's a madhouse out there. You go to the airport, it's like everyone's at the airport right now. How do you handle the stress of knowing that, hey, the first half of June may be a little bit slow on a macro scale, but you can still get things done and maybe you're just doing different things. But how do you manage that as opposed to starting an event and be like, why is everyone out of town? Everyone's at the beach and damn everybody,
Yeah. I think you just have to keep going and you have to keep doing the things that you can get done. And, some days I feel like, I get up and I go, hey, I'm not going to get this done today. I'm not going to get that done today. But then you start doing things like Friday was that way. I felt like I hadn't placed cases, and all of a sudden I got 2 or 3 cases placed. You're like, all right, this is all right, and I think it's just to stay out there and stay active and keep doing what you can do. And, it's just over time, I think, is what you do,
Yeah. 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 And I think in reflecting back part on, the taking of the breaks, but also you can pick it up. Like you can travel, you can be in your car, you can be on an airplane, you can still communicate with people. You can still get things done, but you could also put it all down and do this, have a conversation, record a podcast where you can't get distracted by anything else because you're being recorded right now. And I think it's super powerful to have that, to say, I'm going to have this conversation with Mitch, or I talked to this guy, Jim James, earlier today. I'm just going to talk to Jim. I'm just going to talk to Mitch, and nothing else can bother me. My door's closed, my phone's off, all of that stuff's going on, and to where I can really focus in. No different than saying, I'm going to go practice my guitar, because all of a sudden, everything else you're worried about doesn't compare to you trying to figure out what chord you have to play next, because you have no idea what the next chord is, right?
Yeah.
And that's where your mind goes. And that's a good thing to have. That's no different than why people play cards, like go play poker. And all that matters at that moment are the cards that you're looking at in your hand and nothing else. And that I think that freshens you up to get after it and to get back to work and to want to get back to work.
Yeah. For me, it's exercise too. I know that I had a nephew that just got married in Charleston about 3 weeks ago. And I was, took my parents down there and there's a lot of dead time. So I was working, but then like one of the days I said, I'm just going to go out here on the beach and go for a run, and I just took that hour, but it really made the day good, that I got to do that. And it was really good. And then I came back and worked some more. And
Sure.
I like the ability to be able to do that I, used to be, I never felt like I could do that, but now I do.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think like taking a walk just during the middle of your day, right? Or exercising, like whatever that might be, but there's always an opportunity to move. And, I've heard this whole thing and I don't disagree with it. Like sitting in a conference room around a table is it's toxic. It's not good. It's not healthy. And I mean, a lot of things can be done over the phone. And I'm not saying not be in person, but if you're on the phone, besides maybe now because I have a mic in front of me, but you can go outside and go for a walk. You could walk inside.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of different places that you can do this where it doesn't have to be so stationary. And I think, like to your dad's point, it's very eye-opening to people who came from different generations to say, how do you do that? Like you have to go to an office from these hours to these hours. And things were built for that. So school was built for the factories, and they were set up and used. Like it still blows my mind sometimes where you go to schools and students are all sitting at their desk.
Yeah,
they're sitting down from 8 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Why? Well, what's the point? Like which kid wants to be sitting down for that many hours? It is mind blowing that they haven't figured out something. And now some schools do it. If you want to stand up, or we have high chairs, we have these chairs. If you got to go to the bathroom, go to the bathroom.
Yep.
And I get you can't do that when there's 3,000 students because there's chaos and there's other issues and concerns that we're dealing with nowadays. But it's just sitting down for that long is not good. And there's no way you keep your energy that long, because if you just sat at your desk for all those days, it's not going to be useful. But I think so many of those things were done from a previous time. And I'm glad that it's evolving a little bit to say, I'm not saying don't wear a shirt and tie. If you want to wear a shirt and tie, wear a shirt and tie. If you don't want to, don't. If you want to wear sneakers to work, wear sneakers to work. Why? Because you know what? Now you just eliminated an excuse of why you can go for a walk. If you wore your sneakers, you can go for a walk. If you go for a walk in your shoes too, but like just eliminate the obstacles, and they're very basic obstacles of getting out there and do it. And then you want to have a meeting with someone, tell them, let's go take a walk. Let's go walk across the street. I mean, those are real basic things but I think they make a big difference for people. But what were you saying?
No, I think, like I do a lot of calls. Like I usually try to go to the park and run or
Mm,
walk or whatever. And for whatever reason, everybody starts calling me at 5 o'clock.
right.
And so a lot of times I walk 4 or 5 miles and I'm on the phone the entire time talking to somebody. And so when you do business has changed too. It's not
Yeah.
8 to 5 or whatever. You can do business all the time. And I like to watch a movie and work on my computer. It gives me a chance to focus on some things that I need to focus on. So it's just all a balance, but it really has opened up on how you can get things done.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. Like, you can use a DocuSign to get documents signed and how fast you can get somebody, something done.
Yeah.
It's really amazing.
Well, yeah, I think you're unique in the way based on the stuff you used to talk about. We had that whole conversation. You wrote an article about having quarters in your pocket to go make phone calls. You had to pull over, go to a payphone,
Yep.
use your quarters. But to evolve and to say, okay, well, you had the pager and then you have a cell phone and now you have this and now you have AI and there's all these different things that are available to you. I mean, scheduling becomes super easy when I can send you a link. It links to my calendar and you can pick the time that works for you. We don't have to have 7 emails or text messages or phone calls back and forth to say, does next week at Tuesday at 3 o'clock work for you?
Let's just do it. Yep.
Let's just do it. Right. And so there's so many things. And a lot of people have said, no, I can't do that. But more and more people are becoming more willing to engage in that. The technology is there to help. It's absolutely there to help. And it's just only frustrating that the insurance industry can't keep up. Right. So I guess with that, and not to like try to have a transition, but I guess I just did, you're dialed in to the life insurance marketplace, like very few people that I know. And that's important. So people ask the questions of what's going on? What are we talking about? And I think it's important on these conversations to touch on these. We don't have to spend too much time because I know it could bore people, but it's also important to say, hey, what is going on in the life insurance industry right now? And we're in the middle of a presidency. I know the election's, starting to be talked about again. Estate planning is a topic that is out there, but no one really understands what that looks like. Where's that going to lead to? Are we going to have an estate tax that people have to worry about? Because right now, seemingly no one has to worry about it. It's just not talked about a lot because the numbers are so high. And so it doesn't necessarily have to be a estate tax that you talk about or, life insurance around that and ILETs. But what conversations or what questions are being asked of you today as it relates to the life insurance market?
Well, from the estate tax, there is a sunset provision. So I always jokingly say, that the limits can drop back and all that Congress has to do is nothing. And I always joke and say they're good at doing nothing. So all they have to do is say, we're not going to have any additional legislation around this. And then it drops back to where a lot of estates are going to be back into the estate tax issue. I guess a lot of it is going to have to do with who's in power at the time. But in the past, what they've done is kick the can down the road. They've left the limit higher and just continued to kind of kick it down the road because they've had other issues to deal with. But we are, getting those conversations going. We actually did a webinar on some of the tax changes that were coming up at the beginning of this year. And, thank goodness some of them got taken out of the tax bill, because some of them were kind of outrageous. Step up in basis on inherited property was a big one. They were talking about not doing that anymore, which would have made a lot of inherited property taxable to the heir, which was going to make things tough, but that got taken out. So, we're hearing more about that and sort of hearing some people, getting interested in that again and doing some planning around that. The life insurance market is tough right now. I mean, I kind of thought when interest rates came back up that would loosen up some of the underwriting. But my experience, I don't know what you're seeing, but my experience is it really isn't.
Yeah.
The time to get a case done is a lot longer. One of the things I think that causes that is the changes in our society because, nobody has one doctor anymore. Back in the old days, you had one doctor unless you had some catastrophic problem. But now everybody has multiple doctors. Your primary doctor is just a quarterback. And he's just, anything beyond your routine physical, he's referring you out to somebody else. So, I just had a case where we got one set of doctor's records that prompted 3 more. So you have 4 sets of doctor's records on one case. So that takes time. And so the market is still tight, is kind of my experience, is the underwriting is pretty tight, even though interest rates are up and they can have more return in the market on the investments. That the life insurance is still tight, but we're still doing a lot of it.
Right.
It's just taking longer to get done.
Takes longer. Well, I think there's just more concerns because on both of those sides, you have the healthcare providers are always concerned, right? Everything that is said goes in the notes and everyone's freaked out about it. No one wants to get sued, right? So they're freaked out.
Yeah.
So then the records, there's more of them and they take longer to get. There's less people perhaps wanting to do those jobs of going to collect data records. But it's interesting because all of that could be transferred electronically, which a lot of times
Yeah.
they are, but it still takes a long time. And then the insurance providers, they're being cautious because they don't want to be wrong, right? So they don't want to be the one that gets it wrong that, loses the company a lot of money and people are afraid they don't want to lose their job. And, you have more questions to ask nowadays because you got the COVID question. Did you have COVID? Have you traveled overseas? Where have you been? And things that you never thought would be something that anyone would have to worry about in regards to insurance. It's everywhere. I mean, mental health used to be something on the records clearly that they would talk about, but nowadays it's like everyone's seen a therapist. And so like, how does the insurance company handle that? Right. And you have a lot of concerns with all of it. And so I think it's just they're all coming at it from a side of caution. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have caution. I would too if you're a medical provider and you're worried because all it takes is one person to take your practice and put you under. But when they're all coming at it from that angle, man, it makes it very difficult to get things done, like you said, the way it used to be done, which means the insurance companies have to adjust to make the process easier and better. And I know they're trying, and some people are trying. The whole insurtech and fintech space is trying to make this better, but you have to imagine they feel the disruption coming because if AI, and I know AI is not there yet, but it's a conversation that people should absolutely be having. If I can't get a question answered when you call an insurance company, then I don't want to talk to that individual because they're of no use to me. Now I had to wait 45 minutes to get them on the phone. They can't answer my question. They deflect it to someone else, or they give me bad information, which we've received that as well. Can I talk to a computer immediately and get it the same information, probably better and in a more succinct, organized, formatted way?
Yeah.
And so that's coming. I don't know when it's coming or how it's coming, but it is coming. And I know there's definitely obstacles as it relates to healthcare space because how is that data being shared and who's got access to that data? And there's a lot of concerns with it. But man, talk about ripe for disruption. It's there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you said, people are still buying life insurance policies and that's not stopping and that won't stop. And I think a lot of people saw morbidity when they saw COVID and that was very concerning. So I think they realized like, hey, I should have some, right? Even from the most basic fundamental level of what life insurance is, then you start seeing and you start realizing like, okay, well, a lot of people have made a lot of money over the last many years. So now there's cash value opportunities that exist inside of life insurance that you have access to that cash now, as opposed to, I don't want to wait till I'm 65. And when I'm 65, who's to say I'm going to even retire at 65? Like, who's retiring at age 65 anymore? I don't know people that are, and if they are, all they're doing is changing careers, which they've been doing for the last 15 years anyway. People are going from this job to this job. It's like people have 10-year careers now, not 40-year careers. And so I think like people want access to their cash, and life insurance provides that as well, to at least have the conversation, which I know you're having a lot of those conversations as well as it relates to cash value life insurance.
Yeah, we are. And having other sources of money in retirement is important. We're in a really heavy inflation era right now. And so one of my agents talks about the effects of inflation on your life insurance. And people don't. He said, I've never had anybody call me and say, well, how does inflation affect the value of my life insurance down the road? But that's a good question. Now we were in a really long period of time of very low inflation that probably didn't matter. But now we're in a very high inflation era. I don't know how long this will go on. And so, yeah, I mean, the buying power of that money, and that's why people need to look at their life insurances. Do I have enough? And do I have enough of the right kind? And so, I have this conversation with people all the time. I had a client that has a special needs child, and we were talking about second to die to fund a trust for the benefit of the child, because that's a permanent problem. It's not a temporary problem, it's a permanent problem. And they ended up buying term insurance. And I was telling them, I said, this is a band aid over a permanent problem that needs to be addressed. And so I thought the permanent life was a better sale for them because of what their needs were going to be. But so you just have those conversations with people about those things. But we're doing a lot of permanent life insurance. People are buying it for various reasons. And I know we were going to segue into the long term care market, but that's one of the reasons why people are buying permanent life insurance. and not term insurance. And ultimately, I think that's a better value.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we've had conversations over the last few months of people wanting to talk to long-term care, wanting to talk to the claims departments, right, of the long-term care carriers. And that industry has changed a lot. We've talked about it. Well, you and I have talked about it on these types of podcast recordings in the past. And it's a topic that I think is covered in the mass media more so probably than life insurance, unless it gets into estate tax because of the aging, the baby boomers, right? There's facilities, and now there's there's a huge opportunity in senior living facilities, right? Because they do not have enough beds. Like they don't even have close to enough beds. So people are looking at long-term care from many different angles. Will they have enough money? The insurance, where are they going to live? Can they have it at home? What's the future of that industry? That costs continue to rise, especially in like the obvious places like New York, Florida, California, Texas, whatnot. But in long-term care, it used to be a standalone policy. You'd go to Genworth or John Hancock, you get your policy. A lot of people had the 10-pay policy, which turned out to be like gold, right? But not many people have it because that was expensive. Well, come to find out that many years later, people are getting notices from Mutual of Omaha, Genworth, and Hancock to say, hey, your premium just went up 35%. What do I do? And it's like, well, that policy is still a strong policy. It's just going to cost you more than it did before. But where else are you going to go to get something like that? You're not. Well, now it's gone into the life insurance, right? So now you have the accelerated benefit riders for your long-term care that exists inside of a life insurance policy. And it's not a use it or lose it type of thing that you often had with long-term care. But that market's changed a lot. To get claims is a frustrating process for the hospitals, for the patients, for the families. I mean, again, another market that's totally ripe for disruption, but like, I don't even know if people know where to go to try and fix it. But at the same time, we do have the life with long-term care. But the way you see it, obviously that is a topic that I know you've talked about for many years. And I think if there's one person I would go to ask a question about long-term care, it'd be you. So like when I say all that, what comes to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, the traditional market is going away. So those standalone products, like you mentioned, Genworth, John Hancock, those are gone. There's only about 3 companies left that are even doing that. And in our portfolio, we only have one. We got Mutual of Omaha is the last company that's doing the traditional that we have access to. And so, every day I'm seeing policies where somebody said, my policy's going up. It's going up 100% over the next 3 years. I mean, Genworth's doing that. But then we try to help them modify it. So one of the things that we're doing, which I think is kind of creative, is we're saying, okay, the biggest part of your traditional long-term care is the inflation rider. Depending on your age, is to freeze the inflation, just freeze it where it is. And then we're doing a lot. There's some annuity products out there that give you leverage for long-term care. And so we're doing a lot of, if you got money, we'll layer another source of long-term care benefit on top of it by using some of these annuity products that have long-term care riders. So you're getting 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 on your money. So in the event of a claim, you're going to access your traditional long-term care, and then the annuity is going to act as excess on top of it if you need excess coverage. So we've done that successfully several times where we've turned off the inflation of that traditional. And then obviously everything is really going to have it in combination with life insurance. And that's brought the average age down. So people that are buying permanent life insurance to add that long-term care rider when you're 45 is very affordable. It's very inexpensive. And in some cases, it's almost a no-brainer to put it on there. And then you just have that policy that can work for you, not just for death benefit, but also for long-term care needs as well. And, back to the inflation, the effects of inflation on those costs, like you mentioned, for long-term care, the costs are going up. And so, I always tell people it doesn't matter what the cost is today. We spend a lot of time saying, what's the average cost of nursing home today? Well, if you're 55 years old, it really doesn't matter what it costs today. It's what is it going to cost in 30 years?
Yeah.
And so you show people even a modest inflation of 3%, 30 years, the cost is going to double. So if it's 10,000 a month now, it's going to be 20,000 a month in 30 years. So that's what's important to keep your eye on. And then we have some wealthier clients that say they want to self-insure, but at the same time, having a method to have a stop loss where I can say, hey, if this is lasting longer than I thought it would, I have another way to turn something on that I can stop spending my own money in that situation.
Yeah. So where do you see it going? I mean, is it just going to continue more of this, like more raising of the rates for existing policies, More people going to
Yeah.
life with, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I see the traditional market being gone. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, that there are any companies that are still doing it. And so I think that those markets are going to close. What happens is, of course, is when the company no longer writes those standalone products, then there's no incentive for them not to raise rates on existing customers. So then that's the next step. And that's what we've seen happen with the companies that stopped writing Genworth, Transamerica. We've seen rate increases. Some of them are modest, and some of them there's ways that you can deal with the rate increase and still keep the policy. But I think that's where that market's going to go. And then you're just going to see more and more of the combo, with critical illness, chronic illness, or the traditional long term care rider.
Yeah. Yeah, man. That's good. I appreciate it. We hit on some good topics. And what's the plan for the rest of the day, man? It's almost 2:00. Are you going to go to the park here soon?
I wish. No, I've actually got a call here at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
to talk about an annuity, and then I've got one at 3:30 to take in applications. So just doing my thing.
Yeah, man.
But then I'll be at the park after that.
I like it. That's the way to do it. Well, man, this is good stuff. We'll keep doing these. I enjoy them. So I think they're useful. So,
Yep, I do too. Thank you.
in case you haven't noticed, we love podcasts. In fact, we love building podcasts, everything from development to production. Because of all that, we're building a one-of-a-kind podcast network. If you have a podcast or looking to launch a new podcast, then we should talk. You can message me on Twitter at Eric_Kaz or hit us up any way that works for you. Let's talk about your podcast joining this one-of-a-kind podcast network.